Rain fell hard on the west side of Atlanta, Georgia, the kind of cold, relentless rain that soaked through shoes and clung to skin like a second weight. Traffic lights reflected off the wet asphalt, stretching red and yellow streaks across the street as cars rushed past without slowing down. People were eager to get home. No one was looking twice at the little girl running along the sidewalk. She couldn't have been more than 10. Her name was Jordan Hayes, and she was running as fast as her legs would carry her, her thin jacket flapping open, her braids plastered against her cheeks. Her shoes were soaked, her socks squished with every step. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. Because her mother was hurt. Only an hour earlier, Jordan had been sitting at the small kitchen table in their apartment, finishing her homework while her mom reheated leftover macaroni and cheese. It was a normal evening, quiet, ordinary, predictable. The kind of moment people never think will be the last peaceful one for a while. Then the phone rang. Jordan remembered the way her mother's smile faded as she answered it. How Monica Hayes' shoulders stiffened. How her free hand gripped the counter as she listened. And how, when the call ended, she slowly sat down in the chair across from Jordan without saying a word. "Mom?" Jordan had asked. "What's wrong?" Monica tried to smile. She always did. But this time, the smile broke before it could fully form. I got attacked outside the store," she said quietly. That was when Jordan saw the swelling on her mother's wrist. The scrape along her cheekbone. The way her mom winced every time she shifted her weight. Someone had pushed her. Someone had stolen her purse. Her paycheck. Her phone. Everything she needed for the rest of the week. And now Monica couldn't even stand up straight. "I'll be okay," Monica said even as her voice trembled. "I just need to rest." But Jordan knew her mother well enough to hear the lie hidden inside those words. By the time the rain started, Monica was lying on the couch, eyes closed, trying to breathe through the pain. The urgent care clinic had told them the wait would be hours without insurance. Hours they didn't have. Jordan stood there, watching her mother suffer, feeling something heavy settle in her chest. Fear. Not the loud kind. The quiet kind. The kind that whispered, "What if nobody helps us?" She grabbed her backpack. "Where are you going?" Monica asked weakly. "I'll be right back," Jordan said, already heading for the door. "I promise." Outside, the rain swallowed her whole. She didn't know exactly where she was going, only that she had to do something. Adults always said help was out there, that someone would care. Jordan just needed to find them. That's when she saw the sign through the rain. Peachtree Community Center, open. Her heart jumped. She ran. By the time she reached the doors, her chest was burning and her legs were shaking. She burst inside, dripping water onto the tiled floor, drawing startled looks from volunteers and staff. No one moved at first. Then Jordan's voice cracked the silence. "My mom's been hurt," she cried, tears spilling down her face. "Please, please help her." The room froze. A woman near the front desk dropped the clipboard she was holding. Another volunteer rushed over, kneeling in front of Jordan. Hey, the woman said gently. "Sweetheart, you're safe." "What happened?" Jordan tried to explain, but the words tangled together. Attack, pain, no money, no phone. All of it poured out in broken pieces, carried by sobs that shook her small body. Her name was Rebecca Simmons, and she had worked at the center for years. She'd seen hardship. She'd seen hunger. But something about Jordan's desperation cut deeper. Rebecca wrapped a towel around the girl's shoulders and listened carefully. When Jordan finished, Rebecca stood up, her jaw tight. "We're going to help your mom," she said firmly. "I promise." As another volunteer called for medical assistance, Rebecca stepped away, pulling out her phone. She hesitated, thumb hovering over a contact she rarely used. The name on the screen read, Jonathan Ellis. A billionaire tech entrepreneur. A quiet donor. A man who rarely involved himself personally, no matter how serious the situation. Rebecca swallowed. This wasn't standard protocol. But neither was a child begging strangers in the rain to save her mother. She pressed call. Across town, in a high-rise office overlooking the Atlanta skyline, Jonathan Ellis paused mid-meeting as his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen, surprised. Rebecca Simmons never called. He excused himself and answered. Jonathan, Rebecca said, her voice urgent. I know this is unusual, but there's a little girl here, and I think you need to hear her story. Jonathan looked out the window at the storm rolling over the city. Something told him this night was about to change more than one life. And far away, unaware of the forces quietly moving into place, Jordan sat wrapped in a towel, whispering the same thought over and over in her mind. Please let someone help my mom. Jonathan Ellis had built his empire on control. Control over systems, over risk, over outcomes. From the 42nd floor of his glass-walled office in downtown Atlanta, he watched the rain streak down the windows like fractures in the sky. Below him, the city moved fast, too fast for most people to notice who was falling behind. He ended the call with Rebecca Simmons slowly, his grip tightening around the phone long after the line went dead. A little girl. Hurt mother. Mugging. No insurance. He'd heard stories like this before. Hundreds of them. His foundation received thousands of requests every year. Emails, letters, even videos from desperate families asking for help. Most were filtered through teams, evaluated, and handled with structured responses. This was different. Because Rebecca hadn't asked for money. She'd asked him to come. Jonathan exhaled, running a hand through his neatly trimmed hair. He told himself it was irrational to get involved personally. That emotions led to mistakes. That systems existed for a reason. Yet his mind kept returning to one detail Rebecca had mentioned. She didn't cry for herself, Rebecca had said. She cried for her mom. That detail stayed with him. Jonathan grabbed his coat. His assistant looked up in surprise as he stepped out of his office. Sir? You still have. I'll reschedule, he said, already walking toward the elevator. The drive across the city was quiet. Rain tapped against the windshield as traffic slowed. Jonathan barely noticed. His thoughts drifted somewhere he didn't like going, backward. To a different city. A different storm. A different night. He shook it off as he pulled into the parking lot of Peachtree Community Center. Inside, the building hummed with low voices and concern. Rebecca spotted him immediately, relief flashing across her face. You came, she said. Jonathan nodded. Where is she? Rebecca led him to a small side room. Jordan sat on a folding chair, feet dangling above the floor, clutching a paper cup of warm tea with both hands. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying anymore. She looked up when the door opened. This was not what Jonathan Ellis expected. She wasn't loud, or dramatic, or demanding. She looked tired. Jonathan crouched down in front of her, careful to keep his voice low. Hi, he said. My name is Jonathan. Jordan studied him closely. Adults usually talked at her. He wasn't doing that. I'm Jordan, she said softly. I heard your mom isn't feeling well. Her lips trembled. She's trying to be strong. But she's really hurting. Jonathan felt something shift inside his chest, an uncomfortable, unfamiliar pressure. Where is she now? He asked. At home, Jordan said. On the couch. She said she didn't want to be a burden. Jonathan stood. She's not, he said firmly. Rebecca handed him the address. A modest apartment complex on the west side of the city. Jonathan glanced at it, already making a decision. I'll take you home, he said to Jordan. Her eyes widened. You? Yes. Rebecca hesitated. Jonathan, are you sure? I'm sure. The drive was quiet. Jordan sat in the back seat, clutching her backpack like it contained everything she owned, because in many ways it did. Jonathan glanced at her through the rearview mirror. What grade are you in? He asked. 5th. What do you want to be when you grow up? She didn't answer right away. I don't know, she said finally. I just want my mom to be okay. They pulled into the apartment complex as the rain slowed to a drizzle. The building was old but clean. Lights flickered behind thin curtains. Jonathan parked and stepped out, opening the back door for Jordan. She led him up one flight of stairs. Inside, the apartment smelled faintly of antiseptic and reheated food. Monica Hayes lay on the couch, her arm wrapped in a towel, eyes fluttering open as the door closed. Jordan, she said weakly. I told you not to. Her words stopped when she saw Jonathan. I'm sorry, Monica said immediately, struggling to sit up. She shouldn't have bothered anyone. We'll be fine. Jonathan held up a hand gently. Please don't move. Monica froze, confusion crossing her face. I'm not here because she bothered anyone, Jonathan said. I'm here because she did exactly what she should have done. Tears welled in Monica's eyes. Jonathan noticed the swelling, the tension in her jaw, the way pain flickered across her face when she shifted. This isn't fine, he said quietly. He made a call, one that bypassed waiting rooms, insurance questions, and long lines. Within minutes, arrangements were in motion. Monica stared at him in disbelief. Why are you doing this? She asked. Jonathan met her eyes. Because someone once helped my family when they didn't have to, he said. And because your daughter has more courage than most adults I know. Jordan stood silently in the doorway, watching the two adults she loved and didn't know collide in a moment that felt unreal. As paramedics arrived, Jonathan stepped aside, letting them work. He looked around the apartment, at the unpaid bills on the counter, the cracked phone screen, the worn furniture. This wasn't just about an injury. This was about survival. As Monica was helped onto a stretcher, she reached for Jordan's hand. It's okay, Jordan whispered, trying to be brave. I got help. Jonathan watched the girl carefully. And in that moment he realized something that sent a chill through him. Helping them wasn't going to be temporary. Because whatever had hurt Monica wasn't the only danger closing in on this family. And somewhere in the city, the man responsible for that night was still free. The ambulance siren faded into the background as Jonathan Ellis watched Monica being wheeled inside Atlanta General Hospital. Jordan held tightly to his hand, her small fingers trembling, not from the rain anymore but from fear and uncertainty. The apartment they had left behind now felt exposed, fragile, as though the walls themselves had absorbed the tension of their lives. Jonathan drove Jordan home afterward, keeping the conversation light but intentional. So, you like drawing? He asked gently. Jordan nodded, a little hesitant. I try. Sometimes it helps me think. Good, Jonathan said, offering a faint smile. Drawing's like telling a story without words. And stories, they can be powerful. At her apartment, Jordan dropped her backpack and ran to check on her mom through the living room window. Monica was inside, sitting on the edge of the bed, wrapped in a blanket. She looked exhausted but alive. Jordan exhaled, relief washing over her. Jonathan stepped into the kitchen, glancing at the scattered bills and unopened mail. The situation was far worse than he had imagined. He had helped families before, but rarely like this. Rarely one that didn't know how to ask for help, that had been forced to endure silently for so long. He reached for his phone, scrolling through a secure contact list. A familiar number stood out. Marcus Donnelly, a former investigator he trusted from his security firm. Marcus had connections in Atlanta's police department and a knack for tracking people who didn't want to be found. Marcus, Jonathan said, I need you to look into a recent mugging. Small purse snatching, downtown Atlanta, victim's name Monica Hayes. Nothing fancy, but keep it quiet. There was a pause on the other end. Quiet? Marcus asked, eyebrow raised. You mean, you're getting personally involved? Yes, Jonathan replied. And I need results before it escalates. There's something off about this one. Meanwhile, Jordan had returned to her room, carefully unpacking her backpack. She found her small notebook and a pack of colored pencils, opening the notebook to reveal half-finished sketches, drawings of her mother, her apartment, the stormy streets outside. She drew a new image now, herself holding her mom's hand with a shadow lurking behind them. She didn't know why she drew it. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was a premonition. Hours passed. Monica rested. Jonathan stayed on the couch, scanning documents, making calls, arranging care. Then the first text came from Marcus. Check the scene. The mugger isn't random. He's been linked to petty thefts in the area, but there's something more. We'll update soon. Jonathan frowned. Something more. He had learned long ago that small crimes rarely stayed small. That night, as the city slept under a canopy of clouds, Jordan woke to a noise outside her window. A shadow moved past the cracked blinds. She froze, heart hammering in her chest. Mom? she whispered. No answer. Grabbing a flashlight, she crept to the living room. Outside, the rain had stopped, but wet footprints glistened faintly in the dim streetlight. Her breath caught as she realized someone had been near the apartment while she and her mother were inside. The next morning, Jonathan arrived with a plan. He introduced Monica to Dr. Elaine Crawford, a specialist in trauma recovery and minor physical injuries. While Monica underwent evaluation, Jonathan spoke with Jordan privately. I know it feels like the world is unfair sometimes, he said gently, but there's more to what happened than just a mugging. We'll figure it out. Jordan's brow furrowed. Do you mean the man who hurt Mom? Will he come back? Jonathan hesitated, then shook his head. We'll make sure he can't. But deep inside he knew the truth. Sometimes the past had a way of following people. And people who thought they were careful weren't always careful enough. Later that day, Marcus sent another message. You were right to get involved. The suspect? Not just a petty thief. He used to work for your security team. He disappeared months ago after embezzling funds. I'm tracking him, but he's clever. Be careful. Jonathan's jaw tightened. The mugger wasn't random. He had history. And history in his line of work was dangerous. Jordan sat quietly at the table, coloring, oblivious to the corporate and criminal chess game unfolding around her. But as she shaded a corner of her page black, she wrote a single word under the sketch of the lurking shadow. Watch her. Jonathan glanced at her drawing when she showed it to him later. He frowned. Watch her? He asked. Jordan shrugged. I don't know. It just felt like someone was watching us. He studied her closely. Children often sensed danger before adults did. And something about her words sent a shiver down his spine. That evening, Monica returned home from the hospital, exhausted but recovering. She sank into the couch, too tired even to speak. Jordan curled up beside her, holding her mother's hand tightly. Jonathan stood at the door, glancing out into the dark street. The city lights flickered against puddles on the sidewalk. Something told him the danger was not over. And as he drove back to his high-rise office, he couldn't shake the feeling that the past had followed them home, and that their lives were about to collide with secrets nobody expected. Because the man who had attacked Monica wasn't acting alone, and he was closer than they realized. The morning sun struggled to break through the heavy gray clouds over Atlanta, casting the city in a muted glow. Inside the Hayes modest apartment, the smell of brewing coffee mingled with the faint scent of antiseptic from Monica's hospital visit. Jordan was at the kitchen table, carefully arranging colored pencils by hue, a quiet ritual she used to steady her thoughts after the chaos of the last few days. Monica sat in the armchair, her wrist now in a soft brace, eyes scanning the mail on the counter. Jonathan Ellis had been there early, organizing paperwork, arranging financial support, and quietly watching over the two as if the weight of their survival rested on his shoulders. Jordan looked up from her pencils, breaking the silence. Mom, do you think the man who hurt you will come back? Monica hesitated. She wanted to reassure her daughter, wanted to say, no, we're safe now, but the truth sat heavy in her chest. I don't know, baby. But we're taking every step we can to make sure he doesn't. Jonathan, who had been listening silently, leaned against the counter. And there's more, he said carefully. Something you don't know yet, Monica. Something I need to tell you. Monica turned toward him, a mix of curiosity and fatigue in her eyes. What is it? Jonathan exhaled, as though weighing the importance of each word. The man who attacked you, he isn't just some random thief. He used to work for my security team. His name is Darius Mercer. A few months ago, he disappeared after embezzling funds. We've been tracking him, but he's clever and resourceful. That mugging, it wasn't random. It was personal. Monica's face went pale. Personal? But why? Jonathan shook his head. I don't know yet, but we're going to find out. Marcus, my investigator, is already on it. The moment I heard about your situation, I knew we couldn't wait for the system to handle it. Sometimes the people who can help the most are the ones who step in personally. Jordan's small voice trembled. So, he came after us on purpose? Jonathan crouched to her level. I don't think he expected us to be this prepared. That's why we're going to stay vigilant. Later that afternoon, Marcus Donnelly arrived at the apartment, his presence commanding and discreet. He carried a small tablet with information compiled on Darius Mercer: addresses, employment history, known associates, and recent sightings. Jonathan watched silently as Marcus scrolled through the data. He's been moving around the city, staying in cheap motels, picking up small jobs, keeping under the radar, Marcus explained. But the mugging of Monica? That's new. It's aggressive for someone who's usually avoiding attention. Either he's desperate, or he has a reason to get closer. Monica's hands shook slightly as she listened. Why would he target me? I don't know him. I barely even saw him. Marcus glanced at Jonathan. Sometimes the past catches up with people who think they're safe. He knows someone here is connected to you. Maybe your neighborhood, maybe your routines, or maybe he thinks there's money in it. Either way, he's dangerous. Jordan, sitting on the couch beside her mother, whispered, "Mom, do we have to be scared?" Monica hugged her tightly. "We'll be careful, baby. I promise." Jonathan added, "And we're not just being careful. We're taking action." That evening, as rain began to drizzle again, Jonathan and Marcus conducted a careful sweep of the surrounding area, mapping potential points of entry, exits, and observation points near the Hayes apartment. Jonathan made mental notes: security cameras to be installed, locks to be reinforced, and schedules to be adjusted. After the sweep, Marcus spoke privately with Jonathan. "He's bold," Marcus said quietly. "He's been watching. I can feel it. Whoever he is, he knows how to manipulate situations. If he comes back, it won't just be a mugging. He'll try to send a message." Jonathan's jaw tightened. "A message? To whom?" Marcus shook his head. "That's the part we don't know yet. But I have a hunch he has more than one reason for targeting them." Later that night, Jordan couldn't sleep. She tiptoed to her mother's room and peeked around the corner. Monica was asleep, but the sound of her shallow breathing wasn't comforting enough. Jordan grabbed her flashlight and peered out the window. The street was quiet, almost too quiet. But then, in the corner of her eye, she saw a shadow moving across the sidewalk, watching, waiting, lingering longer than anyone should. Her heart raced. She knew instinctively, Darius Mercer wasn't done yet. The next morning, Jonathan and Monica discussed precautions. He had arranged for temporary home monitoring, a discreet security team patrolling nearby streets, and emergency contacts with local police. Monica listened, grateful but unnerved. "I don't know how we'll do this, Jonathan. We've never lived like this before." "You won't have to do it alone," he reassured her. "We'll be with you every step. And Jordan, she's brave, stronger than most adults I know. You've got each other. That's what matters." Jordan, watching them, felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things would be okay. But as Jonathan left the apartment building that afternoon, heading back to his high-rise, his phone buzzed. It was a photo, taken from a hidden camera near the Hayes building. A shadowed figure, standing on the opposite sidewalk, staring straight at the apartment. Jonathan froze. He knew that look. Darius Mercer had returned. And this time, he wasn't alone. The next morning, the air in Atlanta was thick and humid, the kind of weather that made the city feel heavy and tense. Monica sat at the kitchen table, her wrist in a brace, frowning at the stack of unopened mail. Jordan was in the corner, quietly sketching in her notebook, the shadowed figure she had drawn the night before still lingering in her mind. Jonathan arrived just as the sun tried to push through the clouds, carrying a calm authority that seemed to fill the small apartment. Marcus had already been on site, going over security plans and ensuring that surveillance cameras were functioning properly. "Breakfast first," Jonathan said, setting a bag of fresh pastries on the table. "Then we go over the plan for the day." Monica forced a smile. "You make it sound like we're going on a mission." "In a way we are," Jonathan replied. "But it's a mission for safety." By mid-morning, Marcus had set up temporary cameras and motion detectors around the apartment building. He and Jonathan reviewed the footage from the previous night, shadowed streets, empty sidewalks, and then, faintly, the figure of Darius Mercer standing just out of the camera's range, watching. Jonathan's expression hardened. "He's testing us. Watching patterns." trying to gauge our response. Exactly, Marcus said. And he's bold enough to make the first move if he thinks we're vulnerable. Jordan, sitting quietly at the edge of the couch, raised her hand. Why does he hate us so much? Monica looked down at her daughter, her hands trembling. Honey, it's not about you. Sometimes people are angry or scared and they try to hurt others to feel powerful. But that doesn't mean we have to be afraid forever. Jonathan nodded. Your mom's right. Fear is temporary. Preparation is permanent. Later that afternoon, a loud knock rattled the apartment door. Jordan jumped, her pencil rolling off the table. Monica froze mid-step, heart racing. Jonathan motioned for silence and walked toward the door. Who is it? Monica asked quietly. Let's find out, he said calmly. Jonathan opened the door slowly, keeping his body between the visitor and the family. Outside stood a man, soaked from the drizzle, hood pulled low. His face was partially shadowed, but Jonathan recognized the posture, the slight tilt of the head. It was Darius Mercer. I know you're in there, Darius called, voice low and rough. I just want to talk. Jonathan didn't flinch. He stepped forward. Darius, you're not here to talk. Step back now. Darius smirked, glancing past Jonathan toward the living room where Monica and Jordan watched in silence. Is that so? Maybe I just want to make sure everyone's safe. Jonathan's jaw tightened. Your definition of safe doesn't include threatening innocent people. Darius's eyes flicked to Jordan. And what's this? A little girl playing detective? His tone was mocking, but there was a dangerous edge. Monica stepped forward instinctively. Leave my daughter out of this. For a moment, the tension in the air was almost tangible, the kind of silence where even a breath feels loud. Then, without warning, Darius lunged toward the door, trying to push past Jonathan. But Marcus, who had been stationed discreetly nearby, intercepted him, and a struggle ensued. Jonathan grabbed Darius's arm. Enough. You're done. Darius yanked back, managing to free one hand. You think you can stop me? You don't even know what I'm capable of. At that exact moment, Jordan's eyes caught movement outside the window. A second shadow appeared, watching from across the street. Someone Darius clearly hadn't expected to be observed. Darius's attention flicked to it for a split second, long enough for Marcus to restrain him fully. You're coming with us, Marcus said firmly. Darius snarled but made no further move. He knew he had underestimated the preparation Jonathan had orchestrated. As Darius was led away, Jordan whispered, Mom, did he know someone was watching him? Jonathan's eyes narrowed. He might not have realized it, but someone definitely was. And that someone might change everything. The following day, Jonathan received an encrypted message on his secure phone. The sender was unknown, but the content was clear. Darius Mercer is only the beginning. You've stirred something bigger. Be careful. W. Jonathan stared at the message, a chill running down his spine. Whoever W. was, they had been waiting for this moment. And Darius's actions had triggered something far more dangerous than anyone in the Hayes family could imagine. Monica sat beside him, sensing the change in his demeanor. Jonathan, what is it? He shook his head slowly. I don't know yet, but we're going to have to be ready for whatever comes next. Jordan, unaware of the coded threat, hugged her mother tightly. Mom, it's okay. We have Jonathan. Jonathan looked down at her, his mind racing. Protection was one thing. But surviving what was coming next, would require more than just courage. That night, as the Hayes family slept, a car slowed in front of their building. Its engine idled softly. Inside, two figures sat silently. One held a map of the neighborhood. The other held a camera. And both were watching the apartment, waiting for the right moment to strike. The next morning, Atlanta's streets were alive with the usual hum of traffic and chatter, but inside the Hayes apartment, the air felt heavy with anticipation. Monica sat at the kitchen table, carefully wrapping her wrist in a fresh brace, while Jordan colored quietly in her sketchbook. Jonathan Ellis had arrived early as always, his presence calm but watchful, like a storm ready to break at any moment. Jonathan poured himself a cup of coffee and scanned the latest security footage from the temporary cameras Marcus had installed. Most of the footage was mundane, people walking dogs, cars passing, but there were small anomalies he didn't miss. Faint shadows at unusual hours, cars lingering longer than normal, and someone taking particular interest in the apartment complex. "Mom," Jordan whispered suddenly, breaking the quiet. "Do you think Darius will try to come back?" Monica paused, looking down at her daughter. "I don't know, baby. But we're doing everything we can to make sure he doesn't get the chance." Jonathan crouched beside Jordan. "And if he does, we have friends who will help us stop him. You're not alone in this, Jordan. Ever." The words were reassuring, but neither of them noticed the figure watching the building from across the street, a shadowed silhouette slipping behind a row of parked cars. By mid-morning, a knock sounded at the apartment door. Jonathan glanced at Monica, who tensed instinctively. Jordan clutched her sketchbook to her chest. Jonathan opened the door cautiously. Standing there was a woman in her early 30s, wearing a navy trench coat and a calm, professional demeanor. Her eyes were sharp, observant, and carried a quiet intensity. "Can I help you?" Jonathan asked. "My name is Samantha Rhodes," the woman said smoothly. "I work in private investigations. I was sent by someone who knows about Darius Mercer and the threats surrounding this family." Monica's eyes widened. "Private investigator?" Jonathan studied her carefully. "Who sent you?" Samantha glanced briefly at Jonathan, her tone serious. "A mutual contact in the cybersecurity world. Someone who knows Darius better than anyone outside his inner circle. He, or she, wants to make sure your family is protected." Jonathan's brow furrowed. "And you're the one they sent?" "Yes," Samantha said. "I specialize in people like Darius, unpredictable, dangerous, and cunning. He won't stop until he gets what he wants or until someone stops him first." Jordan watched Samantha closely. She didn't understand every word, but she sensed authority and strength. Something about the woman made her feel safer, despite the looming threat outside. Samantha stepped inside, glancing around the apartment with trained eyes. "We'll need to set up a secure perimeter," she said, pointing toward the doors and windows. "Cameras, motion sensors, alarm triggers. Everything. Darius is reckless, but he's clever. And someone else is watching him." Monica swallowed nervously. "Someone else?" Samantha nodded gravely. "Yes. Whoever Darius is working with, or whoever's orchestrating him, they have plans. Plans bigger than a simple mugging. That's why I'm here." Jonathan looked at Monica and Jordan, his face serious. "We're going to make sure nothing happens to you. And with Samantha's help, we'll be proactive instead of reactive." Jordan's eyes widened. "Proactive?" Jonathan smiled faintly. "It means we get to act first before he tries anything else." By mid-afternoon, Samantha and Jonathan had mapped out a plan. Marcus joined via conference call, coordinating local surveillance and ensuring the police had discreet awareness of the situation. Together, they established a network: cameras at key angles, patrol schedules, and secure escape routes if needed. Monica watched, a mixture of awe and apprehension in her eyes. "I can't believe all this is happening, just because someone hurt me." Jonathan put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's not just about what happened. It's about preventing it from happening again. And now we have allies who understand the threat." Jordan, meanwhile, drew in her notebook, sketching Samantha's figure beside her and her mother. "She looks like a superhero," Jordan said softly. Samantha crouched beside her. "Maybe. But superheroes don't work alone, they work together. And we're going to keep your family safe." That evening, as the sun dipped below the Atlanta skyline, Jonathan received an anonymous tip via secure email. "Darius Mercer has made a mistake. He doesn't know who's really watching. But W knows. You've only just begun. Be ready." Jonathan read the message twice, the weight of the warning settling over him. W. Whoever this was, they were not only connected to Darius, they were pulling strings from the shadows. Meanwhile, outside the Hayes building, two figures moved silently in the darkness. One was tall, masked, and observing the building. The other carried a device capable of intercepting surveillance feeds. The two whispered softly to each other. "It's almost time," one said. "They think they're ready, but they have no idea what's coming." Inside, Jordan hugged her mother tightly, unaware that the storm outside was far from over, and that the real danger was only beginning. The following morning in Atlanta, the Hayes apartment felt quieter than usual. Monica had stayed up late the night before, worrying about Darius Mercer and the mysterious W. Jordan, meanwhile, had spent the night sketching shadows in her notebook, figures lurking outside, watching, always waiting. Jonathan Ellis and Samantha Rhodes had been up early, reviewing every surveillance camera, every motion sensor, and every exit route. Jonathan sipped his coffee quietly, scrolling through encrypted communications. Marcus was already at his desk in another city, providing updates from the field. Samantha moved through the apartment with a purpose, checking each lock, each camera angle, each possible blind spot. Monica watched them, a mixture of awe and fear. "I can't believe how much is going on behind the scenes. I just wanted someone to help after the mugging, and now it feels like our whole lives are under attack." Jonathan looked at her seriously. "It's bigger than a mugging, Monica. That's why we're preparing for every possibility. Darius Mercer didn't act alone. Someone else is involved, and I'm determined to find out who." Jordan peeked from her coloring table. "Mom, do you think he'll come back today?" Monica shook her head. "I hope not, baby. But that's why we have Jonathan and Samantha." Jonathan nodded. "Exactly. We can't control everything, but we can be ready for anything." Around noon, Jonathan's secure phone buzzed. It was a message from Marcus. "Darius has been in contact with someone I don't recognize. The way he moves, the timing of his actions, it's like he's following instructions. This isn't just about him." Jonathan's brow furrowed. He tapped the screen, then called Marcus directly. "Marcus, give me everything you have on his contacts. Every email, every phone call, every connection in the last 3 months." While Marcus worked, Samantha pulled Monica and Jordan into the living room. "I need you both to stay inside and remain calm. Nothing leaves this apartment without my supervision. No exceptions. Understood?" Monica and Jordan nodded. There was a seriousness in Samantha's tone that left no room for argument. By mid-afternoon, Marcus's findings revealed the first shocking secret connection. Darius Mercer had been receiving guidance from someone high up in a rival tech organization. The anonymous figure, only identified in communications as W, was instructing him to target specific individuals connected to Jonathan Ellis's life. Jonathan's expression hardened as he read the files. W isn't just a name. W is a strategist. Someone who understands both Darius and me, and knows how to manipulate him to create chaos. Samantha, who had been reviewing the security feeds, looked up sharply. "That explains why Darius has been so bold. He's not acting on desperation. He's acting on orders, and W is pulling the strings. Whoever W is, they're very dangerous." Monica shivered. "So, it's bigger than just one person attacking us?" Jonathan nodded gravely. "Yes, and it's about to get worse. We need to anticipate W's next move." That evening, Jordan was drawing in her room when she noticed movement outside the window. A man, someone she didn't recognize, was fiddling with a small device, pointing it toward their apartment. Her hands froze mid-sketch. She ran to Monica's side. "Mom, there's someone out there." Monica looked and gasped. "Call Jonathan. Now." Jonathan arrived within minutes, assessing the situation. The man outside was gone, but the device remained. He frowned. "He's trying to intercept our cameras. He's learning fast." Later that night, Marcus sent an urgent update. W has made direct contact with Darius. They're planning their next move. You're running out of time. Jonathan stared at the screen, a chill settling in his chest. The Hayes family had narrowly escaped danger so far, but W's involvement meant that the stakes were now higher than ever. Jordan, sitting on the couch beside her mother, clutched a pillow tightly. She didn't understand everything that was happening, but she sensed the threat closing in. And somewhere in the shadows of Atlanta, Darius Mercer and W were already planning the next step. one that could bring the Hayes family to the edge of fear and uncertainty. The city of Atlanta hummed with life as morning sunlight pierced through clouds lingering over the skyline. Inside the Hayes apartment, a tense calm had settled. Monica had managed a few hours of sleep, but her wrist throbbed, and the fear from the previous days lingered like a shadow over every movement. Jordan, ever vigilant, had been sketching again, though the pictures were darker now. Shadows, hidden figures, and a lone figure standing outside their window. Jonathan, Alice, and Samantha Rhodes were already up, reviewing the security monitors. Every camera feed, every motion sensor, every perimeter check. Nothing had been left to chance. Jonathan glanced at Monica. "We've done everything we can for now. Stay alert, but don't let fear rule you." Monica nodded, trying to appear brave, though the tightness in her jaw betrayed her. Jordan looked up from her notebook. "Will they come back?" she whispered. "They might," Jonathan said softly. "But we're ready." By late afternoon, Samantha was checking the locks on the apartment doors when a subtle sound caught her attention. A soft click, almost imperceptible. She froze. Jonathan, noticing her pause, looked at the door. "What is it?" Samantha pointed toward the lock. "Someone tried to tamper with it. Just now." Monica's eyes widened. "What? But how did they get so close?" Jonathan's jaw tightened. "They're testing us. Darius or W, whoever it is, they're escalating." Before anyone could react further, Jordan ran to the window. "Mom? Someone's at the balcony." Samantha moved fast, grabbing a flashlight and signaling Jonathan. Together, they approached the balcony cautiously. Outside, a shadow lurked just beyond the railing. The figure was masked, holding a small device, likely trying to disrupt the security systems. The intruder had underestimated the preparation Jonathan and Samantha had implemented. Jonathan moved forward, commanding and calm. "Stop. Step back now." The figure froze, then bolted down the fire escape. Jonathan sighed but didn't relax. "They'll be back. It's not over." Monica hugged Jordan tightly. "Baby, it's okay. We're safe." Jordan nodded, but her wide eyes betrayed her anxiety. That night, as the city slept, a car slowed in front of the apartment. Two figures sat inside, whispering. One spoke into a small microphone. "Security is tighter than expected," the voice said. "But the target is still vulnerable. Wait for the right moment." The other figure adjusted a device aimed at the apartment building. "Soon," they replied. Jonathan, monitoring his secure feed from another room, noticed a faint signal interference. His gut told him something was coming, something bigger than a simple break-in. The following morning, the family tried to maintain normalcy. Monica made breakfast while Jordan quietly colored. Samantha double-checked the cameras. Jonathan reviewed Marcus's latest intelligence update. "Darius is no longer acting alone," Marcus reported over a secure line. "W is coordinating him. Their movements are calculated. They're trying to gauge our response patterns." Jonathan rubbed his temples. "We've got to anticipate the next move. Darius is reckless, but W is strategic. And that combination is dangerous." Monica looked at Jonathan with a mix of fear and gratitude. "I can't believe all this, over one mugging." Jonathan shook his head. "It's never just one mugging. It's about who they think they can manipulate. And that's why we're preparing for everything." That evening, Jordan was alone in her room, sketching when she heard a faint knock at the window. She froze, peering out into the dim streetlight. A figure was crouched below, almost invisible, watching the apartment. Jordan's small hands shook. She ran to Monica's side. "Mom, someone's here." Monica felt her heart leap. She called Jonathan immediately. By the time he arrived, the figure was gone, but the message was clear. Darius and W were escalating. The Hayes family had faced danger before, but now it wasn't just about protection, it was about survival. The night air in Atlanta felt heavier than usual, thick with tension and unspoken fear. Streetlights flickered as clouds drifted slowly overhead, casting long shadows that stretched across the pavement like grasping fingers. Inside the Hayes apartment, no one was sleeping. Monica sat rigid on the couch, her injured wrist resting in her lap. Jordan was curled beside her, wide-eyed, listening to every sound. The hum of distant traffic, the creak of the building, the soft buzz of the security monitor in the corner. Jonathan Ellis stood near the window, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the street below. Samantha Rhodes monitored her tablet, tracking live feeds from the cameras surrounding the building. Something was wrong. Jonathan felt it in his chest before the alert came. Then the alarm chimed, low, sharp, unmistakable. "Motion on the east side," Samantha said quickly. "Not a false trigger." Monica's breath caught. "Is it him?" Jonathan didn't answer. He was already moving. "Jordan," he said calmly but firmly, "I need you to go to the bathroom with your mom. Lock the door and stay there. No matter what you hear." Jordan swallowed hard but nodded. Monica scooped her up, heart pounding, and hurried down the hallway. Jonathan grabbed his jacket. "Samantha." "I'm on it," she replied, pulling up exterior footage. The screen showed a man sprinting across the parking lot, hood pulled low, movements frantic. Another figure followed close behind. Jonathan's eyes narrowed. "Two of them." "Darius," Samantha said. "And someone else." Before Jonathan could respond, the front door buzzer sounded. "Once, twice, Art." Jonathan stepped closer, peering through the peephole. A man stood outside, breathless, eyes wild. "Jonathan," the man shouted. "You need to hear this, now." Jonathan recognized him instantly. "Marcus," he muttered, unlocking the door. Marcus Donnelly stumbled inside, soaked in sweat and rain. "They're moving," he said urgently. "I followed Darius from Midtown. He wasn't running, he was leading me somewhere. And then I realized." "Realized what?" Jonathan demanded. Marcus exhaled sharply. "You were the distraction." Before Jonathan could react, Samantha's tablet beeped violently. "Balcony breach," she shouted. Glass shattered. Jordan screamed. Jonathan spun and ran down the hallway as Monica's voice cried out in terror. Samantha bolted after him, radio in hand. The bathroom door rattled violently as someone slammed against it from the outside balcony. "Open the door," a distorted voice snarled. "Now." "Stay back," Jonathan yelled, throwing his weight against the door from the inside. A second figure appeared in the shattered doorway, taller, broader, eyes cold and calculating. Not Darius. This one moved with purpose. Training. "Jonathan Ellis," the man said calmly. "You've been very difficult to reach." Jonathan's blood ran cold. "You're W," he said. The man smiled faintly. "Very good." Sirens wailed in the distance. Marcus had triggered the silent alarm, but W didn't flinch. "This was never about the woman," W continued, "or the child. It was about you." Suddenly, Darius lunged forward, shoving Jonathan aside, panic etched across his face. "They weren't supposed to be here," Darius shouted. "You said no one would get hurt." W turned slowly, eyes narrowing. "You misunderstand your role." In a split second, everything erupted. Samantha tackled Darius. Jonathan grabbed Monica and Jordan, pulling them toward the bedroom. Glass crunched underfoot. Someone shouted. Another window shattered. W bolted for the fire escape. "Go!" Jonathan shouted to Marcus, who had just entered behind police officers. Marcus didn't hesitate. The chase spilled into the night. W sprinted down the fire escape, leaping onto the wet pavement below. Marcus followed, muscles burning, boots pounding against concrete. W moved fast, too fast for a man who hadn't trained. Traffic screeched as West darted into the street, weaving between cars. Marcus chased him into an alley, breath tearing from his chest. "Stop!" Marcus shouted. W glanced back once, just long enough to smile. Then he vanished into the darkness. Back at the apartment, police swarmed the building. Monica held Jordan tightly, both of them shaking. Jonathan sat beside them, blood trickling from a cut above his brow, heart still racing. "He knew you," Monica whispered. "He wasn't there for us. He was there for you." Jonathan nodded slowly, guilt flooding his chest. "Yes," he said quietly. "And that's what makes this dangerous." Samantha approached, face grim. "Darius is in custody. He's talking." Says W promised him protection, money, a way out. Jonathan closed his eyes briefly. And now? And now, Samantha said, W knows how far you'll go to protect them. Jonathan looked at Jordan, who was watching him with tear-filled eyes. Are we safe? She asked softly. Jonathan swallowed. Not yet, he admitted. But we will be. Because now the game had changed. W wasn't hiding anymore. And the next move wouldn't be a warning. Dawn crept slowly over Atlanta, pale light slipping through broken blinds and casting long shadows across the Hayes apartment. Police tape fluttered in the early breeze outside, a silent reminder that the night before hadn't been a nightmare, it had been real. Too real. Monica sat at the kitchen table, wrapped in a blanket, her untouched coffee growing cold. Jordan leaned against her side, eyes heavy but refusing to close, as if sleep itself could invite danger back in. Across the room, Jonathan Ellis stood near the window, staring out at the city that had once felt like a fortress and now felt dangerously small. Samantha Rhodes broke the silence. We can't keep them here. Jonathan nodded slowly. I know. Monica's head snapped up. What do you mean? I mean, Jonathan said carefully, turning to face her, that staying here puts you and Jordan at risk. W already knows this location. He's proven he's willing to cross lines. Jordan tightened her grip on her mother's hand. Are we in trouble because of you? The question hit Jonathan harder than any punch ever could. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled out a chair and sat across from them, his expression stripped of the calm confidence he usually wore like armor. Yes, he said quietly. You are. Monica's breath caught. Jonathan. But you deserve to know why, he continued. All of it. No more half-truths. Samantha leaned against the wall, arms crossed, listening. Marcus stood near the door, his face unreadable. Jonathan folded his hands together, eyes distant. 10 years ago, he began, before I was a billionaire, before the company, before the security teams. I was just another engineer with an idea and a problem to solve. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I built a data security algorithm that could expose corruption, corporate, political, criminal. It was supposed to protect people. Instead, it made me enemies. Monica frowned. Enemies like W? Jonathan nodded. W's real name is William Hartman. He was my partner, my mentor, the man who helped fund the first version of my company. Jordan looked up. But, if he helped you, why does he hate you? Jonathan's jaw tightened. Because I refused to let him control it. The room went still. Hartman didn't want security, Jonathan said. He wanted leverage. He planned to sell access to the highest bidder, corporations, foreign interests, anyone willing to pay. When I found out, I shut him out, locked him out of the system, and turned over evidence to federal authorities. Monica's eyes widened. You exposed him. Yes, Jonathan said. And I destroyed everything he was building. Marcus spoke quietly. Hartman disappeared after that. Everyone thought he'd gone underground or fled the country. Jonathan let out a bitter breath. No, he stayed. He watched. He waited. Jordan's voice trembled. So, he sent Darius? Yes, Jonathan said. Darius was desperate, broke, angry, easy to manipulate. Hartman didn't care who got hurt, as long as it rattled me. Monica stood suddenly, pacing. Then why us? Why my family? Jonathan looked her straight in the eye. Because you remind him that I'm human. The words hung heavy in the air. He couldn't touch me directly, Jonathan continued. Not without consequences. So he targeted someone vulnerable. Someone I would step in to help. Someone whose pain would force me out of hiding. Jordan's eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean to. Jonathan stood quickly and knelt in front of her. No, he said firmly. You did nothing wrong. What you did was brave. What you did was right. He placed a gentle hand over hers. This isn't happening because you asked for help, he said softly. It's happening because someone evil doesn't like that kindness still exists. Monica wiped her eyes. So what happens now? Jonathan straightened, resolve hardening in his voice. Now, he said, I stop running from my past. Samantha pushed off the wall. We move them, she said. Today. Somewhere secure. Off the grid. Marcus nodded. And while you do that, I'll make sure Hartman's shadow stops being invisible. Jonathan looked at Monica. I can protect you. I swear that. But you have to trust me. Monica hesitated, then looked down at Jordan, her exhausted, frightened, incredibly strong daughter. She nodded. We trust you. Jonathan exhaled slowly, the weight of years settling on his shoulders. As they packed a few belongings, Jordan slipped her sketchbook into her backpack. Jonathan noticed and crouched beside her. What did you draw this time? He asked gently. Jordan opened the page. It showed a man standing in front of a storm, shielding a woman and a child behind him. The storm was dark, but the man didn't move. Jonathan swallowed hard. That's you, Jordan said quietly. He smiled sadly. Then I'd better be strong enough. Outside, a black SUV waited, engine running. As they stepped out of the apartment for the last time, Jonathan felt it, the unmistakable sense of being watched. And somewhere, in a place he couldn't see, William Hartman was already adjusting his plans. Because now Jonathan Ellis had chosen a side. And the war that had been buried for a decade had finally begun. By late afternoon, the Hayes family had been relocated to a secure safe house outside Atlanta. It was a modest suburban home, nondescript from the outside, surrounded by a dense line of trees that provided natural cover. Inside, the air was filled with a tense quiet, comforted only by the faint hum of security monitors and Samantha Rhodes's methodical instructions. Monica sat on the couch, rubbing her wrist, while Jordan sat cross-legged on the floor, clutching her sketchbook tightly. Jonathan stood near the window, surveying the perimeter with a keen eye. The sunlight streaming through the blinds did little to warm the atmosphere. The shadows of recent events lingered too heavily. Samantha moved briskly, checking every camera feed. All entries are secured, she said, her voice calm but firm. Motion sensors, reinforced locks, exterior cameras, they're all live. No one gets in unnoticed. Jonathan nodded, but he didn't relax. He had learned long ago that preparation alone didn't guarantee safety. Monica spoke quietly, her voice betraying exhaustion. Jonathan, will we really be safe here? Jonathan turned, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We will be. I promise. This place is off the grid. W doesn't know about it yet. And even if he did, we're ready. Jordan didn't look up from her sketchbook. I keep thinking about last night. What if he comes back? What if he finds us? Jonathan crouched beside her. Jordan, I know it's scary, but you're brave. What you did before saved your mom. And now we're making sure nothing like that can happen again. She hesitated, then whispered, I just don't want anyone to get hurt because of me. Jonathan's chest tightened. You've done nothing wrong, Jordan. The only reason we're in danger is because someone chose to be cruel. You can't take responsibility for their actions. Monica placed her hands over her daughters. He can't hurt us here. We have Jonathan and Samantha. And you're strong too, baby. You've been through so much already. Hours later, Marcus Donnelly arrived, quietly slipping in through a side entrance. He carried a tablet and a solemn expression. Jonathan, I have updates, he said. W isn't just orchestrating Darius. He's reaching out to people connected to you, friends, business contacts, even your old colleagues. He's trying to find a weak point. And he may already know someone close to you has been compromised. Jonathan's jaw tightened. Someone close. Marcus nodded. Yes, someone who can get us without even trying. We need to be careful who we trust now. Monica shivered, wrapping herself in a blanket. I thought moving here would make us safe. Jonathan placed a hand on hers. It will, but only if we stay vigilant. W is smart. He's patient. And he knows I care about this family. That's why he's targeting us emotionally, not just physically. Jordan, listening quietly, opened her sketchbook again. Her pencil trembled in her hand as she drew a small figure hiding behind a door, watching the family. Samantha leaned over to look at it. You've got a good eye, Jordan, she said softly. Sometimes noticing things others don't, that's a skill. One that can help keep everyone safe. Jordan nodded but didn't smile. I wish this wasn't happening. Jonathan knelt beside her. I know. Me too. But we'll get through it. And when it's over, you'll see, you've been stronger than most adults I know. Late that night, as the safe house settled into a fragile quiet, Jonathan's phone buzzed with an encrypted message. He opened it cautiously. I see you have your little family safe, for now. But hiding doesn't change the past. I know where you were 10 years ago. And soon, everyone you love will see the consequences. W. Jonathan's face darkened. He looked over at Monica and Jordan, sleeping fitfully on the couch. Samantha appeared behind him, reading the message over his shoulder. He's taunting you. That's dangerous. He wants a reaction. Jonathan nodded grimly. And I'll give him one, but on my terms. Meanwhile, across the city in a dimly lit loft, a shadowed figure placed a new device on a map of Atlanta. Tonight we test them, W murmured. We see what they're capable of. And we prepare for the next move. The Hayes family slept, unaware that W's plan was already in motion, moving closer, sharper, more personal than ever. The night around the Hayes safe house was eerily quiet. Only the hum of the city in the distance reminded anyone that life went on beyond the thick tree line. Inside, Monica tried to reassure Jordan that everything was fine, but the unease hung heavy in the air. Even Jonathan, who usually carried an aura of calm authority, moved with careful precision, constantly checking every camera feed and sensor. Jordan sat on the floor, clutching her sketchbook to her chest. Her eyes were wide, haunted by the events of the past few days. Mom, what if W finds us here? She whispered. Monica stroked her daughter's hair gently. We're safe, baby. Remember what Jonathan said. This place is secure. Nothing can get in without us knowing. Samantha Rhodes moved through the rooms like a silent shadow, her eyes scanning the monitors, analyzing every angle. We're not invincible, she said softly, almost to herself, but we are prepared. Jonathan walked over, kneeling beside Jordan. We've got you. You're brave, Jordan. Braver than anyone I've ever known. And this is just another challenge we'll overcome. Hours later, the subtle sound of glass crunching underfoot broke the fragile quiet. Samantha's head snapped toward the monitor, her eyes narrowing. East window. Someone's here. Jonathan's heart skipped a beat. Move everyone to the bedroom. Now. Monica scooped Jordan up, hurrying to the bedroom while Jonathan and Samantha moved to intercept. Marcus's voice came over the radio, calm but urgent. I'm on my way. Hold your positions. Outside, the figure crouched beneath the east window. Rain had started again, making the shadows blur. The person had a device, likely trying to disrupt the cameras and sensors. Jonathan recognized the movements. They weren't random. This was trained, deliberate. Jonathan whispered into his radio. We know you're out there. Step back or you leave no choice but to be caught. The figure froze, then lunged toward the window with a strength that betrayed desperation. Samantha fired a warning shot into the air. The sound echoed across the safe house, making Jordan cry out from inside. Jonathan swore under his breath, grabbing a nearby baseball bat. The figure smashed the window partially, reaching inside, but Jonathan met them with force. The struggle was intense. Jonathan had to draw on every ounce of his training to hold the intruder back. Samantha moved quickly, pulling a stun device, striking the attacker. The figure collapsed to the floor, groaning. Jonathan caught a glimpse of the masked face. It was Darius Mercer. Darius gasped, eyes wide and frantic. W told me, if I failed, he trailed off, shaking, clearly terrified. Jonathan stared at him. Failed? You're done, Darius. Tell us everything you know. Darius hesitated, fear and loyalty warring in his eyes. He's planning something bigger, for your family? Monica gripped Jordan tightly, whispering, What does he mean? Jonathan's jaw tightened. It's W. He's escalating. We need every detail now. By early morning, Darius had spilled what he knew. W had been watching them for weeks, learning their routines, noting weaknesses. He had even recruited another accomplice, someone within Jonathan's network, who fed W insider information about Jonathan's movements. Monica's face paled. You mean, someone we trusted? Jonathan nodded grimly. Yes, that's why this breach happened. W knew exactly when and where to strike. And Darius, he was just the tool. Jordan's small hands shook. But, why does he want to hurt us? Jonathan knelt beside her. He doesn't care about you or your mom, Jordan. He wants to hurt me, and he's trying to use fear to get what he wants. Samantha added, but he underestimated one thing, the Hayes family. You're stronger than he realized. Late that evening, after Darius had been secured and questioned further, a new alert came through Jonathan's secure feed. A shadowed figure was moving outside the safe house again. This time it was smaller, faster, and far closer to the building than anyone had expected. Jonathan's blood ran cold. They're coming back, Samantha whispered, eyes narrowing. And next time, it won't just be Darius. The morning sun barely pierced through the dense tree line surrounding the Hayes family's safe house. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. Monica moved slowly, still shaken from the previous night's breach. Jordan, however, was awake, sitting cross-legged on the bedroom floor with her sketchbook on her lap, pencil moving almost mechanically. Her drawings no longer depicted simple shadows. They were complex, dark figures, maps of the rooms, notes about every potential hiding place she could imagine. Jonathan Ellis and Samantha Rhodes monitored the perimeter on their tablets, eyes scanning each feed with meticulous precision. Marcus was coordinating outside, keeping a watchful eye on nearby streets. But no matter how secure the safe house appeared, Jordan knew something was coming. She glanced at her mother. Mom, what if W comes back tonight? What if it's worse than last time? Monica took a deep breath and sat beside her. We'll be okay, baby. Jonathan, Samantha, Marcus, they're here to keep us safe. And we have each other. Jordan didn't respond. Her small hands gripped the sketchbook tighter. She knew it wasn't just about being safe, it was about taking action. She had to do something. By mid-afternoon, Samantha had noticed Jordan lingering near the security monitors. Hey, she said softly, kneeling beside the girl, you've got sharp eyes. Want to help me spot anything unusual? Jordan hesitated, then nodded. Together, they pored over the live feeds, comparing angles, checking for blind spots. Samantha noticed Jordan pointing out areas most adults would overlook. Tiny windows, shadowed corners, obscure alleyways. Impressive, Samantha said. You might just be our secret weapon. Jordan's lips trembled. I want to help. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Jonathan, watching from across the room, felt a surge of pride and fear at the same time. She's brave, he whispered to Monica. Braver than she knows. Hours later, the tension escalated. A faint crackling sound came from the exterior cameras, interference like someone was tampering with the feed. Jonathan froze. They're back, he said quietly. Monica grabbed Jordan. Stay behind me. Samantha moved toward the window. Jonathan followed, weapon in hand. Through the monitor, they spotted a shadow slipping along the perimeter, a figure smaller and faster than Darius, moving with precision. Jordan's eyes widened. That's him? Samantha shook her head. No, it's someone W sent. Someone trained. Before anyone could react further, the figure darted across the yard, bypassing sensors with ease. Jonathan cursed under his breath. They know the layout, he said. Someone inside fed them information. Jordan's grip on her sketchbook tightened. I can help, she said suddenly. I know the rooms. I can see the cameras where they might blind spots. Jonathan hesitated, then nodded. All right. Show me. Jordan led him through a mental map of the safe house, pointing out areas of vulnerability. Her observations allowed Samantha and Jonathan to anticipate the intruder's movement, forcing the shadow to retreat into the darkness, frustrated and unseen. Later that night, as the family tried to rest, an alert flashed across the monitor. A new figure had entered the neighborhood, a tall, masked intruder carrying equipment designed to bypass sensors. Jordan's voice trembled. They're here. Jonathan moved immediately, signaling Marcus. We're not waiting for them to strike. We're intercepting. In the darkness, the intruder paused, glancing at a small, hidden device. Through the faint glow of the screen, a single message appeared. "She's smarter than we thought. W says adapt or fail." Jordan shivered, realizing that she had just made herself a target. The safe house had never felt more vulnerable. The sun had barely risen, and yet the weight of the previous night lingered like a heavy fog over the Hayes family. Monica sat at the kitchen table, staring blankly at her coffee mug, while Jordan clutched her sketchbook, her small hands shaking slightly. The previous night's alerts still haunted them, leaving a lingering fear that W's operatives were closer than ever. Jonathan Ellis stood by the window, scanning the perimeter feeds. Samantha Rhodes moved silently around the room, her eyes darting to every corner. Marcus was in contact with local surveillance teams, tracking movement near the safe house. But even with all this preparation, something felt off. "Something's wrong," Samantha muttered, her eyes narrowing at one of the monitors. "I'm seeing interference, but it's coming from inside the house." Monica froze. "Inside? How is that possible?" Jonathan's jaw tightened. It could only mean one thing. Someone here, someone we trust, is feeding information to W. Jordan's eyes widened. "You mean, someone we know?" Jonathan nodded grimly. "Yes, and that's the hardest part. The enemy isn't just outside, it's among us." Hours later, the family tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy. Monica helped Jordan with a small snack, trying to keep her calm. "We're okay, baby," she whispered. "Jonathan and Samantha know what they're doing." But Jonathan's mind was elsewhere. He had noticed subtle signs over the past few days. Slight deviations in security logs, unexplained anomalies in the surveillance feeds, and it all pointed to the same disturbing conclusion. W had an inside man. Samantha reviewed her notes quietly. "There's a pattern," she said, showing Jonathan the anomalies on the tablet. "Every time we think we've secured the perimeter, W knows. Every time we move, someone tips him off." Jonathan's expression hardened. "And that someone is someone we know personally." Late that afternoon, Marcus reported from a secure line. "Jonathan, I traced the signal. It leads straight to the safe house. And it's coming from one of our own security devices." Jonathan's heart sank. "Which one?" "The tablet Samantha's been using to monitor the feeds. Someone has been remotely accessing it without her knowing." Samantha's eyes widened. "That's impossible. It's encrypted." "Not for W," Jonathan said quietly. "Or his inside accomplice." Monica clutched Jordan's hand tightly. "So, someone here is working with him?" Jonathan nodded. "Yes. And we need to find out who, before W uses them to hurt us." By evening, Jonathan had gathered the family and Samantha in the living room. "We need to be honest," he said. "Someone we trust has betrayed us. W isn't just watching us, he's manipulating us from the inside." Jordan trembled. "But who? Who could do that?" Monica whispered, her voice barely audible. "Not us, right?" Jonathan shook his head. "Not us, but someone we thought was on our side." A sudden beep came from the tablet. Jonathan froze. A message appeared. "Trust is a luxury you no longer have. W always wins in the end. You're inside, friend." The room went silent. Jordan's small voice broke the tension. "Mom? Jonathan, what does this mean?" Jonathan's eyes met Monica's. "It means W is closer than we thought. And the next move he makes, it won't be a warning. It will be real." Outside the safe house, in the shadows of the trees, a figure watched silently. Not W, someone else. Someone familiar. The kind of person you wouldn't expect to betray your trust. And inside, the Hayes family remained oblivious, unaware that their most immediate danger was no longer outside, but within. The Hayes family had been on edge for days, but that evening, tension reached a breaking point. Inside the safe house, the air felt heavier than usual, charged with unease. Monica sat on the couch, arms wrapped around Jordan, while Jonathan paced near the window, eyes flicking between the monitors and the walls, calculating every possibility. Samantha Rhodes examined the cameras again, her jaw tight, knowing something crucial had slipped past them. Marcus Donnelly's voice came through the secure line. Jonathan, I traced the last intrusion. It's coming from a device in this house. And the signal, it's not W directly. It's someone giving him access. Jonathan's heart sank. Someone inside? Yes, Marcus confirmed. And based on the device logs, they've been feeding W information for weeks. Monica froze. Weeks? That's impossible. Who would do this? Jonathan shook his head. I don't know yet, but we're about to find out. Jonathan pulled up the device logs on the tablet Samantha had been using. Lines of code scrolled across the screen, showing access timestamps, IP traces, and hidden communications. One line stood out, a direct, encrypted connection that had been active during almost every breach and suspicious movement. Samantha leaned closer, eyes narrowing. This IP, it's familiar. Too familiar. Jonathan frowned. Familiar? It belongs to someone who's had access to our network for years, Samantha explained. Someone we trusted, someone in your inner circle. Jonathan's chest tightened. Who? Before Samantha could answer, a soft click sounded from the hallway. Jonathan's hand went immediately to his pocket, pulling his weapon. Who's there? He demanded. A figure stepped into the room, hands raised slightly. Jonathan's eyes widened in disbelief. It was Marcus Donnelly. Monica gasped. Marcus, no, it can't be you. Jordan clutched her mother's arm, eyes wide. Why would you do this? Marcus's face was calm, almost detached. It's not personal, he said. W promised something Jonathan wouldn't give. He promised control, influence, a way to leverage everything we've built. I didn't want to, but... Jonathan stepped forward, voice low and controlled. You risked the lives of my family, Marcus. Jordan. Monica. For what? Money? Power? Marcus shook his head. Not just that. I thought I could control it. I thought I could play both sides. Samantha moved quickly, positioning herself between Marcus and the family. You made a huge mistake, she said. One wrong move and this ends badly for you. Marcus took a step back, sweat forming on his brow. I never wanted anyone hurt. I thought W would just scare you, make you move. I didn't realize he'd come this far. Jordan's small voice trembled. You tried to hurt us, for him? Marcus's gaze softened, but it did nothing to erase the betrayal. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought I could control it. Jonathan's eyes hardened. Control is an illusion when you're dealing with someone like W. And now you've endangered everyone you care about. Suddenly, all the monitors in the safe house flickered and went black. The faint hum of the generators ceased. A chilling voice echoed through the intercom system, distorted but unmistakable. Nice try, Jonathan. But you're too predictable. Your little sanctuary is gone. W. The room went dark. The betrayal of Marcus was only the beginning. W had escalated, and now the Hayes family was completely exposed. Monica pulled Jordan close, trembling. What do we do now? Jonathan clenched his fists, his mind racing. Now we fight. And this time we finish it. The safe house was plunged into total darkness. The monitors had gone black, the backup generators failed, and the faint hum of security systems vanished into silence. Outside, rain pelted against the windows, masking the sound of someone moving stealthily around the property. Inside, the Hayes family and their small security team felt the weight of vulnerability pressing down on them. Monica clutched Jordan tightly, whispering words of comfort that sounded fragile even to her own ears. Jordan's fingers dug into her mother's sleeve as her wide eyes scanned the shadows of the room. Mom, what's happening? She asked, voice trembling. Jonathan Ellis knelt beside them, his usual composure masking a surge of urgency. It's W, he said quietly. He's testing us, trying to break our defenses. But we won't let him. Samantha Rhodes checked her tablet in vain. The screen was dead. He's disabled everything. He's not just outside, he's controlling the environment. Whoever's helping him, they've got access to our systems. Marcus, still reeling from his earlier betrayal, moved toward Jonathan. I can try to override some of the locks and sensors manually, he offered, his voice tight with guilt. I, I want to help fix this. Jonathan's eyes flicked to him, unreadable. You have one chance, Marcus. One. Marcus nodded, crouching beside the main control panel. His hands moved quickly over the wires, the familiar hum of electronics returning slowly as he worked. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the kitchen. Someone had forced a back entrance open. Jonathan grabbed Monica and Jordan, pulling them behind a reinforced wall. Samantha readied herself, weapon drawn, while Marcus worked feverishly to restore security. Through the shadows, a figure emerged, tall, agile, and masked. Jordan gasped. It's him. W sent someone. Jonathan motioned for her to stay low. Stay behind me. Do not move. The intruder moved silently, scanning the room for targets. Samantha fired a warning shot into the ceiling, and the figure darted back toward the hallway, disappearing into the darkness. Jonathan exhaled slowly, but his mind raced. This wasn't just a scare tactic anymore. W had escalated. His operatives were inside their perimeter, testing reactions, learning their movements. Marcus finally managed to restore partial power, bringing some of the cameras back online. Jonathan watched in horror as the live feed revealed multiple shadows outside. W's operatives were now surrounding the safe house, coordinating silently. Monica's hands shook. Jonathan, how do we get out of this? Jonathan looked at his family, determination hardening in his eyes. We fight smart. We don't run blindly. And Jordan, this is where your courage comes in. Jordan's eyes widened. Me? But I'm just a kid. No, Jonathan said firmly. You're not just a kid. You've already helped us anticipate threats before. You see things others don't. Tonight, your insight can save us all. Jordan swallowed hard, drawing a shaky breath. Okay, I'll do it. Jonathan nodded. Good. Stay close to us, stay quiet, and watch. Outside, in the pouring rain, W watched through binoculars, a faint smile on his face. Perfect, he muttered. They think they're ready. Let's see how they handle the darkness. Inside, the Hayes family huddled together, unaware that W's most dangerous move yet was about to begin. One that would test their courage, trust, and unity like never before. The safe house was a fortress cloaked in shadows. Rain streaked down the windows, each droplet reflecting the dim emergency lights that flickered sporadically across the walls. Jonathan, Monica, and Samantha huddled together with Jordan at the center, listening intently to every sound outside. Jordan's small hands clutched her sketchbook. Her pencil had come with her, and she flipped it open to the page she had drawn earlier, the map of the safe house, including all blind spots and potential entry points. Jonathan glanced at her. You've got the layout memorized? He asked. Jordan nodded. I can see where they might try to come in. I think I can help guide you. Jonathan smiled faintly, pride and worry mingling in his gaze. All right then. Lead the way, Jordan. But stay close. We move only when I say. Minutes later, a subtle click echoed from the back entrance. Samantha froze. Jonathan motioned for everyone to stay quiet. Jordan pointed to a corner near the kitchen. If they enter there, we can trap them in the hall. Jonathan whispered, Good. Marcus, be ready. Outside, W's operative, masked, agile, and silent, made his move. He bypassed a weak sensor, unaware that Jonathan and Samantha were anticipating every step. Jordan's heart pounded as she whispered directions. Now, to the left. Behind the counter. Wait, now. Jonathan and Samantha sprang into action, catching the intruder by surprise. A brief struggle ensued, but the operative was restrained and secured. Jordan had guided them perfectly, her observations turning the tide in a moment that could have ended in disaster. Monica held Jordan tightly afterward. You saved us, she whispered. Jordan hugged her mother back. I wanted to help. I didn't want anyone to get hurt. As they caught their breath, the partially restored monitors flickered on. Jonathan's blood ran cold. Multiple figures appeared surrounding the property. This was no longer a single operative. W had deployed a team. And this time their movements were coordinated, deliberate. Jonathan turned to Marcus, his voice low but firm. This is it. W's main attack. Everything we've prepared leads up to this. Marcus swallowed hard, guilt and fear etched across his face. We'll hold them off, but he's smart. He'll adapt quickly. Jordan's eyes were wide as she noticed something on the monitor. Dad, the figure in the black van, they're moving toward the basement. That's where we keep the emergency supplies. Jonathan's jaw tightened. Good eye, Jordan. That's where W wants us most vulnerable. Samantha adjusted her stance. If they reach the basement, they have access to the safehouse controls and weapons. We cannot let that happen. Jonathan nodded. We'll split. Marcus and I take the front. Samantha, Jordan, and Monica stay inside and secure the basement entrance. Jordan, you keep guiding us. Jordan swallowed, nodding. I can do it. Outside, W watched through binoculars, a sinister grin spreading across his face. Impressive, he murmured. The girl is clever. But cleverness won't save them from what comes next. Inside, the Hayes family braced themselves, unaware that W's deadliest maneuver was already in motion, and that it would test their courage, trust, and unity like never before. The night had grown darker, the storm outside intensifying. Rain lashed against the walls of the safe house, turning the surrounding trees into looming silhouettes. Inside, tension crackled like electricity. Every creak, every distant sound made Monica clutch Jordan tighter, while Jonathan scanned the monitors, anticipating W's next move. Jordan sat beside Samantha, pointing at the partially restored camera feed. They're moving faster, and they're heading toward the basement entrance. They know we're there. Jonathan's face hardened. This is it. W's deadliest trap. If they reach the basement, he controls everything, our escape, our supplies, even the safehouse security. Marcus adjusted his gear and checked his weapon. We've got to hold them off. Every second counts. A deafening crash echoed from the basement. Jonathan, Marcus, and Samantha rushed toward the staircase, Jordan and Monica following closely behind. The intruders had broken through the reinforced door. Jordan's heart pounded as she scanned the room. Using the layout she had memorized, she whispered directions to Jonathan. To the left, behind the boxes, wait, now. Jonathan moved swiftly, intercepting one of the operatives as Samantha tackled another. Marcus fired a warning shot, forcing two more to retreat temporarily. Jordan's instructions allowed the team to anticipate every movement, turning what could have been chaos into calculated defense. Monica, though terrified, helped barricade doors with heavy furniture, her fear fueling her determination to protect her daughter. Suddenly, a loud metallic click reverberated through the basement. Jonathan froze. What is that? Jordan's eyes widened. It's a timer? Marcus's face went pale. Explosives? W planted explosives in the basement. He wants to trap us, hurt us, and test Jonathan's reaction. Jonathan took a deep breath, masking the surge of adrenaline. Stay calm. We have to get everyone out safely, and fast. Jonathan signaled Marcus. Cut the wiring. Samantha, evacuate Monica and Jordan to the stairwell. I'll handle the rest. Jordan's small hands trembled, but she stayed close to Monica. Dad, please be careful. Jonathan shot her a reassuring look. I've got you. Just stay behind me and trust me. As Marcus worked to disable the explosives, the intruders regrouped, pressing forward with renewed aggression. The room was a storm of movement, rainwater dripping in from broken windows, and the echoes of shouted commands and gunfire bouncing off the concrete walls. Just as Marcus cut the final wire, a voice boomed over a hidden intercom. Impressive, but not enough. The girl has potential, Jonathan. Let's see if she can handle what comes next. W. Jordan froze, realizing W had been watching every move. Her fear mixed with determination. She glanced at her mother, then Jonathan, and whispered, I can help. I won't let him win. Jonathan's heart tightened, pride swelling. That's my girl. Stay focused and stay alive. We're getting through this, together. Outside, W's shadowed figure retreated for now, his plan partially foiled, but the war was far from over. Inside the safe house, the Hayes family had survived the immediate threat, But the storm of W's schemes was only escalating. The rain eased into a cold drizzle as the last of the intruders retreated into the woods. Inside the safe house, the basement lights flickered back to life, casting a harsh glow on the faces of those who remained standing. Everyone was breathing hard, alive, shaken but not broken. Jonathan leaned against the concrete wall for a moment, steadying himself. The realization hit him all at once. This was no longer a game of defense. William Hartman, W., had pushed too far. He had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Jordan stood close to Monica, her small shoulders tense. She looked around at the wreckage, the broken door, scattered debris, the marks left by violence, and then up at Jonathan. "He's not done," she said quietly. Jonathan looked at her, surprised. "Why do you say that?" "Because," Jordan hesitated, then swallowed. "People like him don't stop when they lose. They stop when they're exposed." Samantha exhaled sharply. "She's right." Marcus, bruised and exhausted, lowered himself onto a crate. "W doesn't want to win quietly. He wants you broken, Jonathan. Publicly." Jonathan closed his eyes for a brief moment, then opened them with clarity. "Then we end this publicly," he said. Within the hour, Jonathan had made his decision. "We're not running anymore," he told Samantha and Marcus. "We go on offense. I still have access to the original encryption framework, the one Hartman tried to weaponize." Marcus looked up sharply. "You destroyed that code." Jonathan shook his head. "I buried it. Encrypted it so deeply even I couldn't access it without the final key." Samantha narrowed her eyes. "And the key?" Jonathan looked at Jordan. Everyone followed his gaze. Monica stiffened. "Jonathan." "The drawings," Jonathan said gently. "The patterns she keeps sketching. They're not random. They're iterations of the same logic tree I used when I built the system. Jordan doesn't even realize it, but she's been solving parts of it intuitively." The room went silent. Jordan blinked. I just draw what feels right." Jonathan crouched in front of her. "That's how the system works. It responds to instinct. Pattern recognition. You didn't just help us survive tonight, you helped me remember why I built it in the first place." Monica's voice trembled. "She's just a child." Jonathan nodded. "Which is exactly why Hartman underestimated her." Suddenly, Samantha's tablet lit up. "Incoming transmission. Encrypted." Jonathan's heart slowed. "That's him." With one tap, the screen filled with static, then resolved into a shadowed figure seated calmly in a dim room. "William Hartman." "You finally stopped hiding," W said smoothly. "I was beginning to think fear had replaced your conscience." Jonathan stepped forward. "This ends tonight, William." Hartman smiled faintly. "No. Tonight the truth comes out. Yours and mine." Hartman leaned closer to the camera. "Do you want to know why I chose the girl, Jonathan?" "Why her?" Jonathan's jaw tightened. "Leave them out of this." "Oh, I can't," Hartman replied. "Because Jordan Hayes is the proof of everything you stole from me." Jordan froze. "What do you mean?" Monica demanded. Hartman's eyes gleamed. "That algorithm you built, the one that made you a billionaire? It wasn't yours alone. It was inspired by research from a woman you never even mentioned in court." Jonathan's breath caught. "No," he whispered. "Yes," Hartman continued. "Her name was Rachel Hayes. Monica's sister. Jordan's aunt." Monica staggered back as if struck. "Rachel died in a car accident." "An accident you never questioned," Hartman said calmly. "She was brilliant. She believed in Jonathan's vision. And when she threatened to expose me, she disappeared." Jordan's world tilted. You hurt my aunt?" she whispered. Hartman didn't deny it. Jonathan's voice broke. "I didn't know. I swear to you I didn't know." Hartman smiled coldly. "And that guilt? That's what I wanted you to feel." The transmission cut abruptly. An alert flashed across the tablet. "Location trace complete." Samantha's eyes widened. "We've got him. He's in Chicago. Old Financial District. Abandoned exchange building." Jonathan straightened slowly. "Then we go to him." Monica grabbed his arm. "Jonathan, This is dangerous. Jonathan looked down at Jordan, who was trembling but standing tall. He won't stop, Jordan said. Not unless someone makes him. Jonathan nodded. You stay here, he told Monica. I promise. Jordan stepped forward. No, she said softly. I started this when I asked for help. I'm not hiding anymore. Jonathan hesitated. Then he nodded once. Outside, the storm finally broke. But something far more powerful was moving toward its end. Because the final confrontation wasn't just about revenge. It was about truth and forgiveness, and whether redemption was still possible for anyone. The sun was just beginning to rise over Chicago, its pale light reflecting off the steel and glass of the abandoned Financial Exchange building. Once a symbol of power and control, it now stood hollow and forgotten, much like the man hiding inside it. Jonathan Ellis stepped out of the black SUV, the cold wind cutting through his coat. The city felt quiet at this hour, as if it too was holding its breath. Behind him, Samantha checked her equipment, while Marcus secured the perimeter. Inside the vehicle, Monica sat with Jordan, her hand gripping her daughter's tightly. Stay here, Jonathan said gently, leaning into the window. No matter what happens. Jordan looked up at him, her eyes steady in a way that no child's eyes should have to be. Just come back, she whispered. Jonathan nodded. I will. But Jordan surprised him. She opened the door. No, she said softly but firmly. You don't face him alone. Monica's heart skipped. Jordan? Mom, Jordan said, turning to her, he hurt Aunt Rachel. He tried to hurt you. He tried to turn Jonathan into a monster. I'm not scared anymore. Jonathan hesitated, then slowly nodded. Stay behind me. Always. Inside the building, footsteps echoed through the vast, empty hall. The smell of dust and rust hung in the air. At the far end, a single light glowed, and beneath it sat William Hartman. Older now, thinner, but his eyes were just as sharp. I wondered when you'd come, Hartman said calmly. And I see you brought the child. Jordan stepped forward before Jonathan could stop her. My name is Jordan Hayes, she said, her voice trembling but clear. And you don't get to talk about my family like that. Hartman studied her, something unreadable flickering across his face. You're more like your aunt than I expected, he said. She had fire too. That's what made her dangerous. Monica gasped softly behind them. Jonathan's fists clenched. You used her research. You tried to erase her. And when you couldn't control me, you came after a child. Hartman leaned back. I came after the truth. And the truth is, you built your empire on stolen inspiration. Jonathan nodded slowly. Yes, and I spent 10 years punishing myself for it without knowing why. But here's the difference between us, William. He stepped closer. I chose to protect. You chose to destroy. Hartman laughed quietly. You think you've won? Even now, the data I leaked will tear your company apart. Jonathan shook his head. No, because I rewrote the system. Hartman froze. With help, Jonathan continued, glancing at Jordan. Your leverage was fear. Ours was transparency. Samantha stepped forward, holding up a device. Everything you've done, every transaction, every manipulation, every death you caused, it's already been transmitted. Federal authorities, media outlets, multiple redundancies. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. For the first time, Hartman looked afraid. You'd sacrifice everything? He snarled. Your wealth? Your legacy? Jonathan answered without hesitation. Yes. Jordan looked up at Hartman, tears streaming down her face, not from fear but from truth. My aunt believed ideas were meant to help people, she said. You turn them into weapons. But you don't get to decide how her story ends. Hartman's shoulders slumped. This wasn't how it was supposed to go, he muttered. No, Jonathan said quietly. But this is how it ends. Police lights flooded the building moments later. Hartman didn't resist as he was taken away. He didn't look angry. He looked empty. Weeks later, life felt different. Not perfect, but real. Jonathan Ellis resigned as CEO. He redirected most of his fortune into foundations, Education, trauma recovery, ethical technology. The headlines called it shocking. Those who knew the truth called it justice. Monica and Jordan moved into a small home outside Savannah, Georgia. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm. One afternoon, Jordan sat at the kitchen table, sketching again. Jonathan watched from the doorway. "What are you drawing now?" he asked. Jordan smiled and turned the page. It showed a storm clearing. A woman standing strong. A man kneeling to listen. And a little girl holding a light. Jonathan's voice caught. "That's beautiful." Jordan shrugged. "It's not about being rich or powerful. It's about choosing kindness, even when it's hard." Jonathan nodded slowly. That night, as Jordan drifted to sleep, she whispered something Monica would never forget. "Mom, if I hadn't asked for help that day, none of this would have changed." Monica kissed her forehead. "No, baby," she whispered back. "Everything changed because you were brave enough to believe someone would care. And somewhere millions would hear their story. Not because of a billionaire, but because of a little girl who cried out for her mother and reminded the world that humanity is still worth saving."